This video is the assembly and somewhat of a review on the Extreme Max Deluxe flip-up ladder. Well, I bought an Extreme Max flip-up ladder. I'm going to put it on a guy's pontoon boat for him. And it comes in a box. Some assembly required. And this is the total cost, taxes and all. Delivered on time, a little ahead of the schedule by UPS. Box is in good shape, and I'm going to drag it out of here, lay it out, and see what we have and put it together. This ladder is the 5-step ladder, and right where the tape measures at, that's the deck mounting surface. All the way to the bottom comes out to just over 51 1/4 inches. The stair treads are threaded. Look to be pretty decently cut threads. Comes with lots of fun bolts. Decent set of instructions in multiple languages, of course. Looks to be solidly welded. Everything is welded on all 4 sides. So I guess the only thing now to do is start putting it together. Standard, fairly simple instructions. Gives you all your parts that you have, so you can lay them all out, make sure you got the right ones. Tells you that you're going to need a 10mm wrench and a Phillips screwdriver. On the subject of Phillips screwdriver, look at how big that screw head is. This is a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. Wiggles around in there. You'll be able to get them tight with that, but that's a number 2, a number 3, and a number 4 Phillips screwdriver bit. Number 3 fits a lot better. A lot of people have access to a number 3, but it's actually a number 4. That'll help you get them tight without slipping the screwdriver in it. If you use a 3, it'll help a lot. The other thing is, these are going into aluminum, so they don't need a whole lot of pressure put on them. You don't need a 2-foot cheater bar on the end of your ratchet wrench to put them in. Assembly of this thing is really quite simple. It's just a matter of following the instructions, putting the screws in the right holes, and getting them tight enough so it all doesn't fall apart. These two handrail pieces go with the legs pointed in. And I'm wondering if I should use a little bit of Loctite on all these screws to make sure they don't come out, but I think if they're torqued good enough, the marine environment will be all the Loctite you'll need. I'm not going to torque all this stuff until I get to the point where I have to. I'm just going to make sure it's tight enough so it doesn't wiggle around. Hopefully that's right. Set that off to the side. And then start doing the same thing with the side braces and the rest of the ladder. What I'm going to do with this, same thing I'd do with any structure like that. Put all the screws in loose and then tighten them up. I don't think it'll matter too much on this particular ladder, but on some things, if you start tightening screws too early, they'll twist, make it hard to put the rest of them in. This thing is very simple to put together though, very simple. And we're just going to jump ahead to where I'm tightening all the screws at on this, because it's going to be kind of boring. It might take a few minutes. I've made sure that they're in 4 or 5 threads at least. And I've switched over to my drill so I can set the torque setting down. In case there's any burrs in the holes or anything like that, or any trash in them, I don't want to be tearing anything up. So I'm just going to run them down kind of soft. This is the bolt assembled as it will be to go into the hole right there that screwdriver's in. As far as installing this bolt, now it's just a matter of getting it through there, stacking it, sliding it through. But first, I've got to torque all these because I'm not going to be able to get to these after I put it together. And torquing these is going to be a judgment call because there is not a torque value in the instructions. So it depends on how brave you are as far as stripping it out of the aluminum. I don't think they have to be real tight. Not a lot of stress or vibration on them. You notice I'm holding the ratchet like that to kind of control the torque a little bit because I really don't like torquing stuff into aluminum. Anyway, torque them down. These you'll be able to get to real easy later on, I'm sure. The top two may be a little bit difficult if they loosen up, but I don't think they're going to come loose. Also, if you tighten them too tight, it'll crush the aluminum tubing. I don't know if this tubing can even be crushed without stripping the bolt out. All right, I don't know if anybody wants to watch this part or not, but you're gonna get to see the struggle of putting this in. Hopefully, I don't get in my own light too much here. This looks like it's going to be pretty easy because it's pretty straightforward. Get the other side set up. All right, I've got both sides set up now. Just going to bring the bolts back till they're about flush. If you wanted to, a little piece of tape, like masking tape or something to hold that in, would make this job even easier than what it is going to be here. And the reason I've got it laid like I do is because all this will be flat, and I'm thinking that that will be easier to slide that in and line it up. And it did slide right in. Oh, slid right in, but I still have this in my hand. Drop that. Ah! Drop the washer. At least it's not super tight. You got a little bit of room to play with in here, so it's not too bad. I'm sure now that I've got this one in, something's going to fall out of this side, because that's the way this works. No, it went right through. All right. Bushing on the inside, nut. Somebody's stolen the 10mm. All right. How about a 10mm line wrench? That'll work. It's always the 10mm. I didn't think that looked like a 10mm. That says 10 millimeter right there, and that ain't no 10 millimeter. That's more like a 13. It's either 12 or 13, and that I haven't lost that. No, it's supposed to be there. It ran away. And these are self-locking nuts, so you don't have to tighten this really tight. It's got to float around in there a little bit, just so it'll wiggle a little. Just get that thread a little bit through that self-locking part, it'll stay together. Now the next part of this will be putting it on the boat and seeing how it works. It does not come with mounting hardware. There's the 2 holes right there to mount it with, because there's so many different things this could be mounted to. This could be mounted to, like we're going to do it on a deck of a boat. That's like 3/4 inch treated plywood. It could end up mounted to a dock, which could be, you know, anywhere up to 2.5, 3 inches thick. So I'm gonna have to get some hardware to mount it to it, and I'll probably put big washers underneath of it. We'll see you when we get to the boat. And it looks something like that when it's assembled. Easy access to the top of your toolbox. All right, as promised, here I am at the boat. There's our ladder. There's our big pontoon boat. It's being put on the front of the pontoon boat to make it easier to access the boat when you're launching and landing, and to use while you're out on the water to get back in the boat. So anyway, as I was saying before, different applications are going to require different things to put it down. I've drilled the holes here, and since this is just a plywood deck, we're going to put that underneath of it, one on either side, and that will lay underneath the aluminum lip right there like that to hold it in. But your application will probably be different. All right, so this is it installed on the front of the boat. It's very light, swings up easy. I'm thinking a rope to help pull it up once you're on the boat. The one thing about it that I'm not really sure that I like is the way these pins go in. With the play that's in this bolt, you actually have to lift up on it to get this pin to line up with the hole. But you can just let it fall back, whether it's a boat or a dock or whatever, you can just let it fall back, shove the pin in like that, call it good. But I think it's a pretty solid ladder. I think it'll make an easy way to get into a boat. And I've had a guy at 230 pounds up it already, and it didn't collapse, so there it is. That's what you got. Somebody's stolen the 10 millimeter. All right. How about a 10 millimeter line wrench? That'll work. It's always the 10 millimeter. I didn't think that looked like a 10 millimeter. That says 10 millimeter right there, and that ain't no 10 millimeter. That's more like a 13. Standard, fairly simple instructions. There we go. Standard